Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey. And I'm here with Eric Pierce, the great editor of the Downey Patriot. And you're listening to Talking Downey with Mario
and Eric. Mario, I've never asked you this before. How did you become make it quick, but how did you become a two-time mayor of Downey and other council members aren't so lucky?
Yeah, that's crazy because you got some great people that are only one-time mayors. You have Dr. Roger Brosmer, one-time mayor. Dave Gaffin, one-time mayor. Rick Rodriguez, one-time mayor. Kurt Kartosian, one-time mayor. Keith McCarthy, one-time mayor. And I think it was that I became mayor pro tem my second year, and then mayor my third year.
To become mayor pro tem your second year.
It was kind of quick. Yeah. It was kind of quick on there. And it was, and again, I love being mayor. It's one of the greatest things that I've ever done in my life. But so now they all kid me about it. Oh, the two-timer, right? Yeah. So that's why I use it at the beginning. I'm the two-time former mayor.
Were you mayor your very last year in office?
No, I was mayor my second to the last year. My last year, I was running for state senate.
That's right.
And that's kind of one of the things that I do regret, that there's some unfinished business on the council that I would have got to, because what happens when you're too busy running for senate, I got a lot of things done the last year, but there's some legacy or long-term projects that then the staff never finished.
But, and I remember that year very well, because I remember you would bring up, and I forget what the issues were specifically, but you would bring up these issues at the city council meetings. But I got the sense that the city staff was just kind of waiting you out.
Yeah.
Like they knew you were going to be gone by the end of the year, and they were just kind of waiting for that.
There's two or three things that happen exactly that way.
Yeah.
The corner of Downey and Firestone, that we did and stuff like that, it looks okay. That's not what they promised. That's not what we were doing, because I was heavily involved in the downtown Downey. I was on that committee for 8 years. So what the plans that we had and some of the things that we did are not what ended up happening. So
you're talking about the gateway?
No, across through the gateway, the whole corner of Downey and Firestone. You got the D's in the crosswalk. Those crosswalks were supposed to be inviting, supposed to be a lighting, some of the blinking things. There was all kinds of stuff that now the DDIA is looking to do and everybody else looking to do, but that should have been done in the downtown Downey in 2013, 14. But you're right. I can name you 10 things that you're right. The staff kind of wink, sure, council member.
And I know that you weren't, you didn't plan for it, but it would have been cool if you had run for Senate when you were mayor of Downey, right?
Yeah.
So if you were mayor of Downey your very last year and ran on the platform of the mayor of Downey, I think that could have helped you.
Yeah.
But of course, they didn't plan for it.
Well, and the one thing that I really enjoyed is, as mayor, the one thing you're being mayor is your agenda gets listened to more by the staff. And I was there every day in the office no matter what. For 8 years, that was my full time going into the office every day. I developed a relationship with the staff so they knew where I was and I knew where they were. But the one thing that I did enjoy, that I didn't have to worry about campaigning as mayor, because I think some people they want to use the mayorship as a re-election platform or so forth.
Of course.
I want to get stuff done. So I put all my time into that, and then I didn't have to worry about election stuff.
Well, I would think too that you're more free to vote on certain things in certain ways without having to worry about how it could impact your re-election.
You know what? That was never an issue for me, because I made myself a promise that I would always vote what I thought was in the best interest of the city. And I always did that. When people would abstain, first of all, if you have to abstain, you shouldn't be on the dais. I mean, because sometimes you're right. If if they're doing something close to your house, you have to abstain, but you have to leave the dais, or if you have a true conflict of interest. And I tell this to elected officials, don't get elected and then be a wimp and not vote, okay? Because if you have to abstain on something, it's only because of a conflict of interest, not because you don't know what you're doing or you don't want to do it because you're going to get hit.
Exactly.
So, no, I never once abstained on there that on a vote. And number two, you do what you think is right for the community, and then you should be able to explain it.
Yeah.
Just like we're going to do right now on something on the planning commission.
Yes,
that's a good lead-in.
It is, because and I give you credit, Mario, because you never shy away, but you're kind of in the hot seat right now. because a big issue that happened recently in Downey.
I'm not, but okay, that's your opinion. But thank you.
Okay, maybe that was a bad phrasing.
I'm teasing you.
Yeah,
Teasing you.
But a big issue, planning commission. So you're on the planning commission.
I proudly serve. Councilman Hector Sosa appointed me on that because he wanted some experience, and I love it, and I proudly serving on that.
And so the commission recently voted, and correct me if I'm wrong. You voted to approve plans to build 3 townhomes in downtown Downey on Lorena. So it calls for demolishing a single-family home and replacing it with townhomes. The decision wasn't very popular on social media when it was shared on social media. Give us a little bit of background, what happened and what happened at the meeting.
And that's why I told people, watch the video, watch the tape of the actual meeting that happened. And so it came to the Planning Commission. There's a 1923 bungalow on the corner of Downey and Lorena, okay? So it had gone for sale, sold for $900,000 and some odd thousand. So it was sold already. And then it goes to, and these people are a developer, but they're here in Downey. They're actually residents of Downey, which shouldn't and doesn't really come into play whatsoever. But they came before the Planning Commission to have this changed into a 3-story condos in the front and 2 in the back on that corner lot. And it's a beautiful design. It looks really nice. I think it's out of character with the neighborhood, but it's beautiful, and it's too tall. It's 3 stories high, the front part of it, and you have a lot of multi-families on that whole block around there and stuff like that. You know, Lorena has a lot of multi-family, but right next door happens to be a single-family dwelling. So things that happen there, like for example, the fire department, from a safety standpoint, wants in front of the house, in front of the units to be painted red so the fire truck can park there in case of fire and go over to the back. So you lose like 3 or 4 parking spots like there. So again, it was a tough decision. Staff was recommending it because the codes allowed it. And if you watch it, we pressed him on it. You know, and there was a lot of things like the setbacks to the house next door that the owner developer, voluntarily moved things back on, okay, from the wall, more setback and stuff. I was still opposed to it. I said, listen, I don't want to live next door and look up at a 3-story. So what happened is a couple things that came out of it, okay? All 4 planning commissioners, Carrie Uva, Horacio Ortiz, Miguel Duarte, and myself, we had a really good dialogue up there, okay? So if you listen to the tape, we all had the same concerns with staff. We all complimented him on the beauty of the building. It's a beautiful building. To me, the people that use the historical preservation always say it's out of character for the neighborhood when the McMansion started, if you will. That's exactly what I used. I even used those words in there. I'm quoting the historical preservation. So 2 things happen here. First of all, we can't save the house. Everybody's saying, oh, this cute little bungalow. Okay, forget that. That's not up to our privy because it's code. There's no reason. The owner bought it. They're going to demolish it, period. There's nothing the city can do to stop that, okay, period. Nothing the planning commission. Even if we didn't approve it, it would just delay the inevitable. But they bought it to tear it down. So I feel bad. It's a cute little bungalow, but this is America. They own it. They bought it. The other part at work here was that how about the neighbors? So the one thing that we all were concerned about, did the neighbors all get notices? And the city staff told us everybody got at least a 10-day notice. We know that that's fact because one of the neighbors did come. And they gave us a list of sort of demands, things that they would like to see. They said, we understand capitalism at work and they're going to build this. But like, for example, one thing that happened, great dialogue there, that they wanted if when the project is being built, can they put the wall up first so that way their backyard is not exposed, okay? Reasonable. The owner developer said, of course. And by the way, can you make it a block wall instead of a wooden fence so we got on there? Of course. So check. And we made all these things as condition of the permit, if you will. The second one was, can you give us 10 days notice when you're going to compact the ground so we can move out for a couple of days because we got a new baby? Oh my, of course, no problem. Can you enclose the trash bins on there so they're enclosures so you can't see them? There's no on there? Of course, done, check. So there's, and I believe there's 2 or 3 other conditioners similar to that. So this one neighbor was very willing, and they live literally next door, okay? So that kind of made it a little bit easier for us. We asked the owner if they can lower it to a 2-story on there. They said no, they got to go back to the drawing board. Staff was recommending it. We said to staff, we don't like it, but this is up to code and everything's out. So they did. And so when it came up to vote, it could have gone either way. And if you watch the video, I literally, when the first vote came up, no, and then the second one came up, yes. So remember, if it's a 2-2 tie, it goes back to the drawing board on there. And I kept processing it on there, the legality of it, the property owner's rights, and so forth. And then I try to weigh it to the neighbors, the neighborhood, the height, and so forth. So it ended up being a 3-1 vote. But literally, you can watch us. There was a palatable, 30 seconds to a minute where nobody did anything on the dais. So that's the way I justified it. Number one is property owners' rights won out. Nothing we could do about the property itself. Just we couldn't save it. That's over. And then we could talk about the historical preservation ordinance. You and I have talked about it. We can do that. But that's it. It's just that simple that they won out on and the staff recommended it, and it's within code.
So, okay. So, no, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
Yeah. So, I agree with you. I think they're beautiful, and I got pushback on this. I think they're beautiful structures, but they are out of character for that neighborhood. So, considering that this project meets the code, on what grounds could you have voted against it?
Well, that's the whole point. This just because I don't like it. I mean,
Right.
I could have tried to find some finding on there. So you can answer. And the one that always kept being thrown in our face in the past was it's out of character with the neighborhood. There's a very loosely wording one ordinance on there that they use for the McMansion. So technically, maybe that I could have pushed on that and so forth, but. Yeah,
and that made more sense back, in the early 2000s. I think when we had more ranch homes and those were being demolished and we were building McMansions. At that point, that made perfect sense.
Right.
But now in that area, there's no standard, architectural type there.
No.
But these are definitely going to stick out when they're built.
Yeah.
I mean, being 3 stories and just what is it,
Tuscan.
Tuscan.
Mediterranean.
They're beautiful, but it's definitely going to stick out there.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you look, okay, so Olson Homes, you and I are familiar with the Olson Home project. Olson Homes is looking over on the island to build on there, and they're going to be Tuscan looking, but that's a whole, 30, 40 units and so forth, a condo for retail market on there, and Olson Homes done a good job. This is one individual project that if you made a whole block or 20 or 30 condos this style, it would be great. But yeah, Lorena is a heavily multifamily street. Parking is going to be tough. It's going to continue. You're losing 3 spaces. But the one answer we got from city staff and the planning department was that, they have to park the cars on site. So they all have garages and they have their own parking spot on site. So,
but what does that mean? So, because the city can't force them where to park.
You tell them to. You're right. But yeah, if I parked 2 blocks away and walked over to my house, I can do that now at home. I can do that now in Lorena. So,
and know what? To me, being in downtowns are meant to be more walkable communities. Yeah. So I'm not so much concerned about the parking. I mean, parking is terrible there right now, anyways. Right. But it's meant to be a walkable community. Right. I would hope as a city, we need to make the city more walkable. That includes building sidewalks and getting people out of the street. Right. And it just kind of goes along with it.
So one good thing that really came out of this, okay, and we all pushed, all 4 of us on the Planning Commission, we want to make sure that when any project comes, that the neighborhood knows about it. Okay, they did. They sent out notices. They mailed out notices all in 10 days. And obviously they got it because the person behind them got it, right? But they need to do more. If I'm living next door to you and you're going to start tearing down your thing in a big project, I want somebody to deliver something to me. So we're talking about that now. How do we get more information? So they could have been there at the Planning Commission meeting.
But so what difference would that have made? Because do you now reject the project because the people don't like it? Because the developer can say, well, I'm sorry you don't like it, but it meets the code.
You can't. Number one is the one person that was there on there, we made modifications and conditions on them doing over simple things that weren't costly, that were common sense for the neighborhood. So maybe there's other things that the other neighbor wanted or could see on there within reason.
I mean, relatively minor things.
So,
I mean,
check this out. So one of the things, you won't believe this, the code in Downey for construction, okay, in the residential area is 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. To 9 p.m. Okay, nobody should be working out there at 8 o'clock at night and on there I'm trying to eat dinner and the whole thing. So we did talk to the developer there, and the developer says, "Oh no, we'll change it. Well, you can make it part of a condition, from 7 to 4." And I laughed. I go, "Don't shoot yourself in the foot. 7 to 6 is reasonable, right?" And everybody agreed, and then the neighbors agreed. So that's part of the conditions. So I remember my second meeting on the council back in 2007. So the planning, it came up before the dais. There was going to be a new street opened up in front of Imperial School Artists or something like that, that it was going to have a left-hand turn open, and that street had always been closed off. So I brought up to Desi Alvarez, the Public Works Director, I go, "Have you notified everybody on that street? That's going to change their life. People from Imperial are going to be turning in there as a shortcut to get to Gardendale." And, well, we sent them out notices. Did you get any notices? No. So I begged the rest of the council, can we prolong this 2 weeks while we gave them notice?
Right.
And I said, you write me up something, and I will personally deliver it to everybody on those blocks. That was in my district. So they weren't happy, the Public Works, on there. "Oh, we've been working 2 weeks."
Right.
So the council says, "Of course." So I personally went and knocked on all those doors. They're like, "You're going to open that up, so now there's going to be cars going there as a shortcut to avoid Paramount Boulevard?" And so they all showed up to the next meeting. There was literally 20-some-odd homeowners. And guess what? If you drive down in front of Imperial High School, the median was, the left-hand turn was already done, but there's a median, and you can't turn left. It's got a left-hand turn with no place to turn. And that's because the power of the neighborhood, the power of the people, if you will. So that's on there. Yeah, let them have their say. They live there.
Absolutely. And most people, they're busy.
Yeah.
They have work, and they might have kids, and they have life going on. And I think for the most part, they trust their council representatives to make the right decision, to advocate on their behalf.
See, and that's the thing is to be involved or to know. Right. So here, that Public Works Director, he's long gone. I mean, it's not his fault. I mean, he's retired and the whole thing. He's long gone. Those people still live there. Yeah. Okay, I'm out of office. Okay, and but they still live there. Right. If that would have been open, that would have been a household now for the last 15 years.
Right.
So again, there's a lot of different things on there that listening to the neighborhood is always important. Go the extra mile. I think the planning department and the city heard that. They're going to talk to the city manager about it. Can you hand deliver a notice within 10 houses around? That's not extra time. Or give it to us, the Plan Commission. We'll do it to make sure that people understand.
Yeah.
So,
well, maybe we can post a rendering of the new townhomes.
Sure.
And, give us, post your comments.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think of this project. It's going up, and it's coming.
Yeah. I answered a couple of the things on the Downey Patriot on the Instagram because, again, I get it. It was a tough call. And ultimately, property owners' rights won out. And, if you watch the video, and it's on the City of Downey's website under Videos for Planning Commission, on there, it was just the last one. It could have gone either way, and it was a tough call. We got to make tough decisions. And, we erred on that side. So, and so please, and I'm so sorry. It's a beautiful, cute little bungalow. But it's I don't know. It's less than 1,000 square foot. It's $900,000. So the land was worth more than that.
Sure,
so,
for sure.
And the historical preservation, we've talked about that. Okay, here.
Well, we don't have one.
We don't have one. But see, so let's say I own that bungalow. Okay, that is less than 900 square feet for $950,000, whatever it went. Don't quote me exactly on the numbers. So if there's a historical preservation, it won't allow me to sell it to somebody. It'll lose some of the value. But again, it should be my choice as the property owner once before I buy it.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily agree that you're going to lose value, because there's a lot of people, because that's subjective. There's a lot of people who want to live.
Sure.
I used to live in a little bungalow in Uptown Whittier.
Sure.
And it's the cutest little thing.
Sure.
You know, it's charming.
But that should be up to me, the property owner, whether it adds value, or me, the new person going to buy it, whether it adds value or not.
I get it, but what's happening though is when we start losing all these homes and we're replacing them with condos, as a city as a whole, we're just losing our character. As a whole, we're losing it, and it's
well, and there's partly of that is Sacramento. Sacramento has mandated, first of all, the ADUs. That you have to allow that, whether we want it or not. We're starting to lose the character on that. You got a lot of more housing because we're landlocked, and Sacramento demanded you're going to allow more new housing to be built.
But sure. But also because there's the communities, and Downey, Downey included, that make it really hard for certain developers to build housing when they want to.
Yeah.
There's available land, and they want to build housing, and the city's putting up roadblocks.
Absolutely. There's a couple of projects you and I know that you can do that and help go through the RENA numbers.
Yeah.
So anyways.
I want to ask you, Mario, you recently, I hope you don't mind me sharing, but I know you recently met with the city attorney, the new city attorney, John Funk, and our city manager.
Yeah.
What was your takeaways? Can you talk about what you discussed? Was it positive? What happened?
So two things. So let me talk about the new city attorney. Okay. He's great. Again, in a short conversation and a planning committee meeting and going over his history and stuff. So he's a Downey guy. Okay. I mean, his grandparents were one of the founders at St. Raymond's. He used to be at OPH. So he's a Downey guy. I think he went to Downey High School, graduated from Downey High. So he's coming back home, always knows the community. I can't tell you what a relief that is. Not that anybody that didn't come to Downey, doesn't make them bad or something. But he knows it. He knows the character, the landscape, and so so to have him as our city attorney, wow.
And he wants to be here.
He wants to be here. He came back home. He chose that. So God bless. I'm so proud of the city council. They did the right choice. I'm telling you, there's city attorneys in the southeast area that I was scared to death that we're applying. That the city attorney is a gatekeeper in so many ways, and so is the city manager. But there's a lot of, bad things that could happen, fried chicken kind of stuff that happens on there, especially with city attorneys, and we've seen it in other cities. So that was a relief. Okay. We've been in turmoil since Yvette Garcia. The interim ones we had were fine, but now it's like, yay, okay, that's good. Yeah. So, and I felt that same way about Roger Bradley. So here's a stand-up guy. He was chosen out of a big field. Okay, got the street cred, the credentials for it. Wanted this job. A veteran that learned his chops on there. Had moved up through assistant city manager. Been in a couple of different places. Good family man. And just all the. He's got all the check marks, but I like him. He's a solid stand-up thinker. I was happy that some of the answers that he gave on certain things about just in general topics, so he gets it, and he gets the things from Downey in the direction that he wants. So, big worry. We've talked about it right here on the show. The instability in our city after Gilbert left and Yvette Garcia left and Aldo Schindler left and all these top people. So we're getting some of that. Sure. The one thing that we don't have, and one thing he did bring up, and he asked me about a couple of things and stuff, that we don't have institutional history. Right. Okay. But we have enough former mayors that could provide that. And I told him too, I'll gladly give you the honest truth of why we didn't certain things. I mean, I just told you some things today that maybe people don't know that we did in the past, right? Because it's just institutional history. Sure. So he appreciated that. I think he's a stand-up guy. I'd love to have him on the show so people can listen to him and hear him directly. I think the city did good. I'm really happy with both of those.
Good.
So
that's good to hear.
It makes me optimistic about our community.
Good, because we haven't been able to say that for a while, for a few years now.
No. So the one thing to watch is now I know you hate this, but the election, we get certain things on the election, things cannot turn.
No,
nice,
it's true, and I was about to go in that direction too, because no, you're right. It can go good or bad, depending on who's elected. But now, either way, after November, we're actually going to have a little bit of stability.
Yeah.
And the city can really start moving forward and solidifying what they want to do for the next 10 years or so, whatever. Because there's big things on the horizon. I would say topping the list would be the Columbia Space Center. Yeah. And there's still over by the promenade. There's a land that has to be developed, available for development.
It should be a hotel back there, and there's the studies for it, all kinds of different things that are going on there. And then the South Rancho campus, we got to keep an eye on that to make sure that it doesn't become certain things, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we should at least be aware of what's happening. Yeah. And so, no, I'm glad to hear that you're optimistic.
I am. These are solid people on there. And you know what's funny is right now, it just made me think with instability, it just seems like a different lifetime ago. But have you heard anything about, has anybody ever seen Catherine Alvarez or Sean Ashton? You know?
No.
I don't mean to laugh. It's just kind of, they just fell off the face, and Sean he votes to fire the city manager, and then I got to resign and leave.
Sean was the most disappointing for me, honestly. Sean, because when he was elected based on this, this grassroots guy. I want to fix your streets. I'm a teacher. I want to help, and he got elected, and I think that could have been his legacy, but he screwed it up. He screwed it up when he voted to get rid of Gilbert with no explanation. That was my big thing. With no explanation, and he just disappeared. It was kind of cowardly to me.
Just resign. Who resigns with 6 months to go? And I'm sorry, unless you're moving out of state, a promotion, so maybe you don't put in as many hours. He never put a lot of hours in anyways.
It was disappointing. Yeah. I mean, Catherine got what she deserved and what the residents wanted. I mean, the residents voted for her, and the residents took her out. But we kind of saw that one coming. Right. But Sean was the most. I don't know. I've never.
I haven't seen him since. I mean, it's been a year and a half or whatever. And
I haven't really looked either. So
but look at the instability of having Donald LaPlante and then Timothy Horn in there for short term. I'm not putting down the individuals, but it's just they don't have any knowledge of city government or what to do or what down there. So we lost something there.
We did, but Downey's moving forward, and
I'm excited. I really am.
Either way, Downey moves forward.
Yes,
that's my big thing. And I feel like, and no offense to you, Mar, like our local government representatives, our city council is so important, but the residents are at the top of the food chain. The residents are what makes Downey special.
Absolutely. And we kind of took back our city. Remember, I still live here. And we all do. And then for that reason on there. So we took our city back, and we're pushing forward. So that's great to hear. So, we'll talk about, you have a great new magazine here that you put out for the city of Downey.
Yeah, so the Downey celebrating 150 years.
Yeah, this whole week has been great. There's been events. By the time you get this, it'll be over.
Right.
But Saturday night's the big 150th anniversary at City Hall. It was nice to get an invitation as a former mayor. Yeah. So, I'm going to have to put on a coat.
But you know what? There were some good events, and I keep talking about, like, you were talking about notifications. I didn't know about some of the stuff happening. There were tours of the Downey Cemetery. I didn't know.
Last Sunday.
Of the Assistance League. There is a walking tour of downtown Downey coming up. But I feel like the city could do a better job of notifying people.
Okay, so how would you do that? Seriously. So you're king of the city, and you can notify anyway. How would you do? What would you? Because I kind of feel the same way at times. But then I don't have all the answers. So seriously, what should they do when cost is no money, no issue, which it always is. But how would you do it?
Two things: social media. And tell the Downey Patriot. Okay. Because I know I'm biased, but the Downey Patriot has outlets and to get the word out.
So you don't get press notices and stuff like that? Okay, that's sad.
I used to.
Yeah.
We used to, but the number, and the city recently hired somebody. I'm not going to say, I don't want to say names, but they recently hired somebody to replace somebody who we lost during that whole instability. But we weren't getting press releases. Okay. But just get that information out there and let people know. Just a simple Instagram post. Say, hey, we're doing tours of the historic Downey Cemetery. Come join us. Right. you would get people there who would be interested in it.
Okay.
But just put a little bit of effort into it, I feel like.
So if you're listening, anybody from the city on there, send it to Eric at the DowneyPatriot.com.
Thank you.
Okay, send him a press release or a paragraph.
Just an email. It doesn't even have to be formal. Just a little email.
It is your email, right?
It is.
Okay, so that one's okay. I knew that. That's why. Eric at the DowneyPatriot.com. So, all right, folks. Well, listen, they're good. This is a good subject matter. I'm glad we talked about it. We'll move forward on that, and I hope this was helpful to people.
That was a good conversation.
Yeah, anytime. That's the one thing. Anytime has any issues, I will explain my thinking, our thinking process. It may not be what you like. You may not like what we just talked about, tearing that down, but it is the truth, and that's how they voted. So, anyway,
good stuff.
Stay informed, stay involved, make sure you vote. The ballots are out there. Take a look at your candidates.
Thank you to our sponsor.
Oh my gosh, I forgot
Financial
that.
Partners
Financial
Credit
Partners
Union.
Credit Union makes this possible. So thank you for reminding me.
Doing that.
So we appreciate it. So thanks for listening to Talking Downey with Mario
and Eric.